Hello and welcome back. Susan Zumo here, intuitive and originator of soul patterning harmonics. Well, as always, I was in the bathroom this morning brushing my teeth, thinking about the great shift, and I heard great shift, great upheaval. That kind of took me back a little bit, and I went, how much greater can this upheaval be? And then I heard a little chuckle, and then they started to elaborate on what they meant by great upheaval. I was raised with lots of storytellers. My religious background is in parables. And so lots of my life situations and the information that I get are in the form of parable, analogies, stories, etc. And they are presented to me so that I can learn and kind of connect the dots in my own mind. And this was no different. They showed me a picture of someone that I know doing a kitchen renovation. And they said, when an individual decides to change their environment, in a kitchen renovation, for example, examination must be done to determine what will be kept, what can be salvaged, what must be replaced, and what must be left, torn up, all that kind of stuff. What's going to be brought in? They said, you cannot bring in a new kitchen and put it in place and on top of the old one. You have to take out the old countertops. You have to take out the cabinets. You have to take out the appliances, depending upon how much change needs to take place. Well, we know as we go through the Great Shift that a lot of change has to take place. There are things that can be salvaged. There are things that will need to be completely replaced. There are things that will have to be changed and restructured. And then new things will have to be brought in. They said, during this time of renovation, it will be uncomfortable. It will be inconvenient. Plans must be made. When a kitchen is being renovated and things are being ripped up and torn up, that's upheaval. Well, if your kitchen sink is being torn up and torn out and replaced, you've got to find a way to wash those dishes and get your water before the new one comes in. They said, everything takes longer than you expect. Everyone wants things to happen quickly. They want that kitchen to be replaced overnight. We want the shift to happen overnight. That doesn't work that way, as we know, because we've been in a period of upheaval for quite a while now, right? However, with planning and with proper attitude, I love that they said that, with proper attitude, this can be a time of flexibility, of innovation, and creativity as we learn to work through the challenges that we are facing. So during the kitchen renovation, creativity has to come in terms of how meals will be cooked, where food will be stored, where the water will come from to do the dishes, right? In the greater picture, we are being challenged to be creative during this time of upheaval. How are we going to live a good life? How are we going to maintain a positive outlook and vision? How are we going to clear out within ourselves those things that we don't want to bring into the future, that are not going to benefit us? All this takes place during the period of upheaval. Do we choose to focus on the inconvenience and the frustration of things not happening quickly? Or do we choose to look at what's ahead and how wonderful it will be when everything is finally in place? Once the kitchen is done, the individual who's using that kitchen has to do things differently. The cabinets may not be exactly the same and will function differently. They may have different handles on them. The island, the countertops may be in a different place. The refrigerator door may open in a different way. We have to change as well. We cannot expect the environment around us to change and us be exactly the same. And I have to say, a lot of us actually believe that. Many of us crave change desperately with the expectation that everything will change but us. Well, it doesn't work that way. And believe me, I know, because I've tried it, and it doesn't work that way. Changing your home, changing your spouse, changing your job does not change you in a fundamental way. It has to come from the inside first. And we have to be willing to be different, to do things differently, right? I know an individual who wanted to change their home. They moved into a new home, a completely different home, different layout, different environment. Everything was different. The minute that person got into that new home, they tore that kitchen up to make it look exactly like the one they had been living in for the last 10 years. They were unwilling to be different, to learn new habits, to work in a different way in a new environment. The kitchen they moved into was absolutely phenomenal. It was laid out in a beautiful way. Everything was great. Everything was new. They did not want to change. They wanted to be in their old kitchen in a new place. And they had to go through a lot of expense and a lot of trouble to create that. So my question is, why bother to move? If you want everything to be exactly the way it was, why bother to move? And so these are questions that we want to ask ourselves as we move into October and into the rest of the year and continue through this period of upheaval as we progress towards the great shift. Can't sugarcoat it. We're in upheaval. It's inconvenient, right? It's not comfortable for many of us, but it's also not permanent. And so let's focus on us thinking differently, being differently, imagining differently, right? How is it going to be for us? And I know my imagination is limited. It's going to be different than what I expect and imagine. It's always different than what I expect and imagine. But that can be a good thing. And my guys tell me all the time, it's going to be better than you can ever imagine. And that's a good thing, because Source is unlimited. If I can be open to something being better for me than I can think it will be, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. I will be tickled and excited and happier than I thought I would be. If I expect it to be worse than what it is right now, well, guess what? This period of upheaval is going to be a struggle. I'm going to be focused on the uncomfortability. I'm going to be miserable. And that's going to come through everything I do and say. So during this time that we are in right now, ask yourself, am I willing to be different? Am I willing to change? Am I willing to move through the world in a different way? Am I willing to expect different things from the people around me? Am I willing to change? One of my favorite affirmations for myself is I am ready, willing, and able to change. I have used that whenever I've had to change homes or life circumstances. And where I work, that changes all the time. And so I remind myself of that mantra. I am ready, willing, and able to change now. That has served me very well in life. I remember that I'm supported. I remember that I and my guys have a great sense of humor, and they chuckle at me all the time. And I laugh at myself all the time, because sometimes I can be really silly and want to hold on to old things. But if I am willing to let go of what is no longer useful and work on myself to embrace change, then I know it's going to be great. And I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. If I dig my heels in and require that everybody around me change but me, that's really not going to work, because eventually everything will reflect me, rigid, stubborn, and unwilling. That's not a life I want to live anymore. I've done that. And if you're doing that, now is the time to shift. The great shift happens when we shift. And so I'm going to encourage you to make that shift and do that. That's what we've got for the coming month, for the coming 3 months as we progress toward the end of the year. I want to emphasize again that while we were in upheaval, it is not permanent. We've been in it for a long time, but that's fantastic, because that means that we're going to be in a period of absolute enjoyment for a very long time as well. Everything balances out. As we shift on the inside, the outer will shift as well. Yes, you can change your kitchen, you can change your hair color, you can change your spouse. But ask yourself, am I different? Have I changed? Because knowing that you've changed guarantees a change in the future for you and for everyone you love. And that's what we're all working towards. So again, I'm sorry that this message is a little longer. They had a lot to say. They showed me a lot of things this week about change, 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 and change. Embracing change is the most important thing that we can do right now. Being flexible is our survival skill right now. Activating our creativity in the face of upheaval and change is another survival skill right now. We want to not just survive, but we want to thrive. And these things are going to help you. Now, I'm a person who likes to look forward. I like to help people progress from where they are to where they want to get to. And if that's something that you want to do, reach out to me. I can help you with that. If you want to be stubborn and you want to hold on to your stuff and you insist that everybody else be different, or you want to sit and complain and focus on what's wrong, I'm probably not the person for you. But if you're that other type of person, keep watching. Look for future classes. Hang on to your friends and your support system. Chat with us in the comments. We are here as one. You are not alone. You're not the only person in the world who thinks these things or is going through this upheaval and going through the change. Lots of 3D institutions and individuals want to convince you that things will never change. They will only get worse. And my answer to them is really, just watch me. I'm a rebel and I rebel against those ideas. And so you can also be one, and we can create something absolutely fantastic. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for commenting. I just love, love, love your insights and your thoughts. So keep them coming. And until next week, I hope that you have a phenomenal conclusion to our pause in September and are ready for things to pick up in October. We'll talk more about that next week. Many blessings to all of you.